Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Eric Scheidel here, the HVAC Service Mentor. Glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here too. Today I have a treat for you. In our industry, things happen at a very slow pace, especially when you're looking at the residential split system. I'm thinking gas-fired furnace, air conditioner, and light commercial package rooftop unit marketplace. Things don't develop very quickly. The vast majority of the systems that are being sold and installed today have designs that date back to the mid-1990s or early 2000s. And right now, here we are in 2021 coming into fall. So I have a very special treat for you today. This is a new product from Emerson White Rodgers. It is called the All Spark. And what it is a groundbreaking innovation that has not one, but three technological advances that I'm going to share with you here today. Stick around, and I'm going to give you an introduction and a walkthrough on this really cool new product. So, if you have been in the heating and air conditioning business for any longer than 5 minutes, you probably have an awareness of the White Rodgers Company. Probably best known for their thermostats, White Rodgers has actually been around since the horse and buggy days of air conditioning and heating. They're mostly known for making the parts that are in furnaces and air conditioning systems. They've never really made heating and air conditioning systems themselves, specifically working on installing parts such as gas valves, limit switches, thermostats, obviously. Here I've got a hydronic zone valve from White Rodgers. And a lot of the things that they have made are electronic circuit boards. If you have worked on a furnace in the last week or so, or an air conditioner in the last week or so, you have been in contact with White Rodgers parts, I guarantee it. They have supplied all of the major OEMs with parts for their products since time immemorial. And lately, they have been involved in making some of their own designs for the replacement market and the repair market. And this All Spark ignition control module is the latest one of these. Now, I mentioned that this has several innovations that are new to the marketplace that I am thrilled to introduce to you. And let me give you a brief rundown on them, and then we'll go ahead and open this sucker up and see what's inside. The first innovation is this is a replacement ignition control module for non-integrated spark ignition systems. And what that means is it is a standalone ignition controller. It controls the spark ignition, it monitors flame, it controls the gas valve on and off. That's primarily what it does. It doesn't control the rest of the furnace or the rest of the package unit. But this is the very first one of its kind. Of course, ignition controllers have been around for a long time. This is the first one of its kind that is able to do both intermittent pilot ignition and direct spark ignition in one control. Before now, if you had a direct spark application, you'd need this controller. And if you had an intermittent pilot control, you'd need that controller. The other huge innovation that this has is that it is configurable. In the past, ignition controllers like this one that were either direct spark or they were intermittent pilot, you either had to go straight to the original equipment manufacturer and get that exact controller for that exact unit, or you had a limited choice of configurability so that you could make one ignition controller behave like 4 different types of other controllers, for example. This one's a little different. You can actually choose all of the different operating parameters and plug them in yourself to choose how this thing operates so that you can duplicate a tremendously wide variety of different legacy controls that have been produced over the years. So that's a new feature, is that type of deeper configurability. But to me, the most interesting feature that this has is that that configuration can happen with an app. There is an app for that. That's right. You can configure and diagnose this device with your cell phone using the White Rodgers Connect app. And to my knowledge, this is the first product of its type that is able to do that. Is this a window into the future? I think so. Absolutely. I think we're going to start seeing more and more products like this. And this is one of the groundbreaking ones of its type. And before we get too far, let's talk a little bit about what applications this is for. Now, this is obviously a repair part. You're not going to find this in brand new equipment coming off the shelf. This is for repairing older equipment if it has a direct spark ignition system or a intermittent pilot type ignition system. And what is that? Where are we going to find those? Honestly, we haven't seen that kind of ignition system in a residential gas furnace for probably 20 years or more. But they have been very, very common in things like gas boilers, for example. Gas-fired boilers with intermittent pilot is a very, very common occurrence, as well as water heaters, commercial water heaters specifically, commercial unit heaters that hang from the ceiling, and commercial domestic water boilers. Lots of these kinds of controls that have been produced up until even still today. They're very, very common in those marketplaces. Now, of course, if you have older furnaces that are still utilizing that type of control and they're in fine condition otherwise, yet you can go ahead and repair them with this control too. So that's where I think a lot of the activity is going to be and the interest in utilizing this control device. But one of the cool things is because of its configurability, really the sky's the limit and your imagination is the limit on what you can apply this on. So let's go ahead and open this box and see what's inside. Cool, on the flap here, it talks a little bit about the White Rodgers Connect app. Allows you to do the setup with configuration, faster install time, gives you your also error codes, troubleshooting tips. Pretty darn cool stuff in there. We'll check that out here in just a minute. The instruction book. Awesome. I believe this is in a couple of different languages, and this is super handy. The first time you definitely use one of these, you're going to want to flip through the instruction book. Now, if you're not great with reading instructions, that's okay, because a lot of this information is in the app, and before you use this, you do want to download the app. Now, if you're saying, hey, Eric, I don't have a cell phone, I'm, a dinosaur or something, or my phone fell in the toilet and I'm waiting on a new one, that's fine, because you can configure this without a cell phone. It's just a little more cumbersome, but you can do it without. But the fact that you can is awesome. Oh, we got a little goodie bag with some, looks like male spade connectors with crimp-on connections, a couple of screws. Here's the beauty itself. Ta-da! It's a thing of beauty. And we've got, wiring harness. Now, like most ignition control modules that are non-integrated, they only come alive and they only power up when there's a demand for heat. That's the demand for heat that powers up the device. A couple of features we'll kind of start up here at the top and just kind of work our way down. Going across the top, there's this handy dandy little blue plug right here. And if you look really closely on the control board here, it mentions something about Bluetooth connector. And I called the White Rodgers folks up and I said, hey, this Bluetooth connector has got me super excited. What's up with that? And they told me, yes, eventually this device will be Bluetooth compatible, which will extend the range. For right now, the communication happens by way of near field communication called NFC. If you have a smartphone, you do have an NFC capability, and I'll show you that in just a minute. This little connector right here has the ability to connect a temperature control. One of the neat features about this device is that it can be used as a standalone thermostat and ignition controller all in one. I don't know if that's actually a feature that was available on any other ignition controls in the past, but that is something that is kind of in the works and it's coming, and it really kind of speaks to where these kinds of controllers are moving. Along the side here is a multi-pin connector that is designed to interface with the Molex plug/wiring harness. And what we'll do is go ahead and plug that guy in. And all these little pigtails are what you would normally plug into. And they make it, I think this is a lot easier than having the spade terminals actually integrated into the board, because you have a little more flexibility with these and you can choose which ones you're going to use and which ones you're not. Not all of these connectors are going to be used in every single application, and they're labeled as far as what they are. 3 amp fuse right on the board. Skipping over to the other side, these are our spark connections. We can use either the Raja spark connector. See if this thing will come off of here for us, which is that kind of funny little plug right there, or the spade terminal type connector. You use one or the other, not both. Come on. There it is. There's our spade terminal for spark. And of course, you'll want to keep the little rubber boot on the one that you're not using. And down here is our flame signal. Now, when we have the jumper in place, this is going to be for a local flame sense. And what local flame sense means is the ignition electrode is also the flame sensor. If we have remote flame sense, where there is an additional electrode in addition to the ignition electrode that senses flame, and that's all it does, that would plug in here and this jumper would be removed. Right next to this is a pair of terminals so that you can, let me get that up in the light, so that you can actually measure your flame signal. But the cool thing about this app is that it'll actually show you what the running flame signal is while it's on, and you can use the app to see that. So we really don't even need to measure flame signal anymore. It'll tell you what it is. And last but not least, down here is a digital segment display with a couple of buttons. And these is how you can configure the device without using the app and without using the cell phone. On the top, it describes different codes and what they mean. So if there is an error, it's going to show up a code right here and you can see what that means. It'll also show you what the control is doing at any given time. It'll say, oh, I'm in power up mode, I'm in pre-purge mode, I'm in trial for ignition mode, I'm in retry mode, whatever. It'll tell you what it's doing, and that is really handy as well. One of the things I like about some of this sophistication is that it tends to come with better feedback. The more sophisticated something is, the more that it does, the more it needs to tell you what it's doing. And I think this control does a really excellent job of that. And if that's any indication as to where things are going in the industry, and I think it is, that's absolutely nothing but a good thing. So now I would like to show you the Emerson Connect app and how it interfaces with the All Spark, so that you can get an idea of all the different configurable parameters and how this thing works. So I've got an Android phone here, and I've gone ahead and typed in Emerson Connect into the search bar, and we're going to go ahead and see what comes up. Here it is, White Rodgers Connect. Let's go ahead and install that. There it is. You're going to want to read through the licensing agreement and all that good stuff, which I have done before. Now, we can go ahead and watch the app tutorial. I'm going to let you do that on your own. It's super simple. You don't even need one of these controls to do it. You just download the app and check it out. Very easy. But we're going to go ahead and connect to the control first so that you can see the near field communication. Now, already inside my phone, I've gone into the settings and I've selected the NFC, or near field communication parameter, to be on. And what you need to do is set your phone on top of the control right in this area. So let's go ahead and connect to the control and see what happens. Boom. You got to move it so that the NFC receiver on your phone is lined up with that little sticker there. And on the Android phones, the receiver is in the upper portion, and that receiver, that sticker is right in the middle of the All Spark. So we can choose between, is this going to be an intermittent pilot control, or is this going to be a direct spark control? I'm going to tell this control that it's going to be a direct spark control. I'm going to give it 2 tries for ignition. I'm going to give it a 7-second trial for ignition. I'm going to keep the 30-second pre-purge. I'm going to take away the inter-purge. Take it down to 15 seconds as little as it'll go. No post-purge. I'm going to go with a remote flame sense and update. Boom. Now the neat thing about this with the share button, I can keep these settings and then share it with another control. One of the things that's kind of cool too is once you have read the control, then you can take your phone away and you can work on it yourself. And then when you're ready to update, you can upload that to the controller. And that's a pretty cool feature. So there you have it. There is the White Rodgers All Spark Intermittent Pilot Direct Spark Ignition Controller. I think we can all agree there's more to it than meets the eye. Okay, so that was the introduction to the White Rodgers All Spark. I'm really excited to get this thing on the test bench, connect it up, and get it fired. Until I have a chance to put that together, this will have to do for you. Make sure you send me a comment in the link below. What do you think about this product? I think it has the potential to start revolutionizing the industry. Big question, is this the beginning of the OBD system for HVAC? OBD, of course, is the onboard diagnostic system that was mandated in all cars sold in the United States, I don't know, back in the 80s or something, right? Now we're on the second version of that, OBD2 or maybe even 3. But you know, when mechanics will plug in the code reader to the car and it helps them do the diagnoses. Are we moving toward that, to some sort of a standard in our industry? Maybe. One thing that we are definitely moving toward is an easier way to set up and configure equipment and also diagnose equipment using an app. Is there a fly in the ointment? I think there is, actually. There's a good side and a bad side to this, right? The ease of diagnosis is great. The ability to have someone in the office set one of these up and configure it and then give it to somebody to just go plug it in, that's awesome. But one of the challenges with this is because it is so configurable, and this is an ignition device, it has a lot to do with the safety and operation of the gas portion of a unit. And that means that a technician has the ability to set this up incorrectly and could potentially create an unsafe condition if that were to go awry. And so that you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what all of these different parameters are, what they mean, and how they're supposed to be set. You need to adjust the parameters for a gas ignition control to be exactly the same as the control that came out of the unit originally. And if you don't know that, that can be a challenge. White Rodgers does tell me that they are working with the app to upload all of those parameters for all of the different ignition control module, and that'll be really, really helpful. So what you can do say is, okay, I've got an XYZ control that I'm taking out. Boom, that's the one. And now this one is that one. That's going to be awesome. And that's going to help take a lot of the guesswork out of it. But this is happening throughout our industry. As the equipment becomes more configurable, it becomes more customizable, it becomes more difficult to set up. And the technicians doing that have to know more about what all of these different configurable parameters mean. Back in the old days, a furnace was a furnace. You flip it on, you turn it on. If it makes furnace noises, you're done, you walk out the door. Nowadays, it's going to take another hour or more with knowing exactly what you're doing to get every individual furnace set up correctly. And this is moving even more in that direction. And so is all of the other equipment that is out there. Configurability is the name of the game, and knowing how to configure them is what's going to separate the great technicians from the mechanics. Okay, folks, like I said, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you back here again. For now, this has been Eric Scheidel. I'm the HVAC Service Mentor, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.